There are three rhetorical ways to use persuasion strategies to persuade the reader of your point of view. These three strategies were first invented by Aristotle, and they are logos, pathos, and ethos. What exactly is logos? Logos looks at the logic of the argument. Is the argument logical? Does the argument make sense? Does the argument have any fallacies? Is the argument illogical or inconsistent? Does the writer use deductive or inductive reasoning in his argument? When a writer uses fallacies in his argument, this means his arguments are illogical and inconsistent. There are many kinds of fallacies and/or inconsistent argumentation that we will study in this class. Is the argument biased or one-sided? Does the writer fail to provide the other side of the situation? For example, if I told you that you need to vote for President Obama because all of your friends voted for him, is this a logical argument? If I said all Chinese people are stupid, is this argument logical? Is it possible for you to build solid evidence behind this claim in order to validate this claim? To answer this question, all Chinese people are stupid is an example of a fallacy. In other words, this is an example of inconsistent logic, because as you already know, you cannot judge or put everybody into one group and paint with one single brush one characterization for everybody. Because in every group, no matter where you go, you have stupid people and you have smart people. The second aspect of a good argument is pathos. A good persuasive writer knows how to appeal to the reader's emotions. Some examples: writers appeal to the reader's fear of getting fat in diet commercials. Politicians appeal to the reader's fear of corruption in the government in order to get elected. Commercials that sell makeup or other beauty products appeal to the viewer's vanity of fear of looking old. How does the writer use pathos to persuade the reader of his argument? An example of a person appealing to the emotion of other people can also be found in this example, which I took from Beauty and the Beast, which was a Disney cartoon. And so in this cartoon, one character says, "We need to kill this monster, or else the monster will eat all the children in our village." Obviously that was Beauty and the Beast. He was referring to the Beast, without even knowing who the Beast is. So the speaker uses the villagers' fear of having their children be eaten by a gigantic monster to get the villagers to form huge lynch mobs to go out and hunt down the monster in order to ensure the safety of their children. And so this is a common use of pathos in arguments. Now, I'm not saying this is a logical use of pathos, but many writers try to appeal to the reader's, this needs an apostrophe, reader's emotions. All right? You can't write your whole paper just based on pathos, however. You need to have a combination of logos, pathos, and ethos in order to form a good argument. It's okay to appeal to the reader's emotions as long as you can back up your facts or emotions with more facts and evidence from your research. So when you do your research, you should use statistics, you should use numbers. This goes into ethos, credibility of the argument, in order to build the credibility of your argument. And so a good argument has all three elements. In the examples that I used above for pathos, I have only used how writers appeal to the reader's fears. But actually, writers can also appeal to the reader's other emotions, such as love, hate, revenge, indignation, or any other emotion. In Martin Luther King's letter to Birmingham, Martin Luther King appeals to the reader's sense of justice in wanting to get rid of racism, so that the common warrant or the common shared opinion of the readers is the common indignation against treating black people as if they were inferior, and then wanting to rid the world of this kind of prejudice so that all men can be created equal. So in this particular example, Martin Luther King appeals to the reader's sense of justice and indignation of a wrong. So there are many ways in which one can use pathos to add more oomph to your argument. And the logos, of course, would be the logic. Nobody wants to be judged unfairly, because that's what prejudice is. In other words, you judge someone without knowing who they are. And so that would be the logos. That's the logic of the argument. So far, we have looked at two different elements of good argumentation. You look at the logic of the argument under logos. You look at the pathos, in which you appeal to the reader's emotions. Now, the last element to have a good argument is ethos. You appeal to the credibility of the argument. Is the argument credible? How reliable are the sources for this argument? Do you believe in what the argument is saying? How ethical is this argument? For example, if I said Robert Redford claims that drilling oil in Alaska will harm the environment, how credible is Robert Redford? Is Robert Redford a scientist? Is he a PhD in geology? How credible or believable can an actor be? So when you determine the validity of an argument, you need to ascertain whether or not the authority is an expert in the field. Otherwise, your argument becomes nonsense. You also need to determine, for the credibility of the argument, if the argument is biased or one-sided. If you present both sides of an argument, your argument will appear more balanced. Last thing for credibility is make sure that you follow proper essay structure, such as having a thesis statement with supporting paragraphs that support your main idea to lend credence to your essay, and make sure you check for all grammar errors so that the writer will not appear uneducated and therefore less credible to the reader. So, the last element is credibility. And so in order to have a good argument, in ending this video, you need to have logos, pathos, and ethos. And here ends my video on logos, ethos, pathos.